My name's Sam Miller. I'm the author of Metabolism Made Simple and the host of the podcast Sam Miller Science. But I actually was not always interested in health, fitness, and nutrition. And a few specific events in my life really taught me the power of how health and fitness can serve as a gateway drug to personal development, self-improvement, not only changing your body, but your mind and even your business as well. So I started off and fortunately had a couple things that happened to me as a teenager, which I think happened for me versus happening to me. One was pretty significant concussion that developed my interest in things like hormones or endocrinology, gut health, and really understanding how internal health impacts our physical appearance and things like our fitness goals, our strength, and overall performance. So between a personal injury of mine, some family history in terms of things like heart disease and cardiovascular complications, I started to kind of tune into the importance of health, and also just naturally when you're in your teens and going into early 20s, you begin to care more about how you look and also things like your athleticism. And so it's very natural during that point in time for people to potentially get into things like either lifting weights or playing sports. So I was always a pretty active kid, but I wasn't necessarily always the leanest or strongest or best looking person when it came to body composition, aesthetics, or building muscle. In fact, at one point, I was sitting in a beanbag chair eating 3D Doritos, playing Madden 2001, because that was just one of my bigger interests, playing sports video games. And even though I played sports, I wasn't necessarily into the health aspect of fitness, training, or really monitoring anything related to my nutrition. And from there, I started to pick up different magazines, whether it be Men's Health, or things related to fitness and bodybuilding and understanding how you can change your body for the better. Now, the problem with a lot of the mainstream advice in the health and fitness industry, not necessarily just from any source, is that generally a lot of the information can be misinformation, or the good information is misapplied. And so this sent me down a path of trying to distill these concepts for myself and also for my clients, and something that I use throughout my career as a personal trainer, nutrition coach, health professional, and health educator in the space. And I use a lot of this information just to break things down for other people and translate complex concepts into leverage for their goals. So for me, when I'm picking up some of these magazines or looking at the information, really at the time in the fitness industry, anytime between 2007, 2011, Instagram's not a thing yet. There's no YouTube vloggers talking about health and fitness. You go to things like internet forums or printed magazines for most of your health and fitness advice. There was no MyFitnessPal or macro tracking really, or if it fits your macros as you know it. Not really much on functional health, functional nutrition, or functional medicine, which has become widely popular in the health optimization space. Instead, I had to put together a lot of these pieces myself, and fortunately reached out and found the support of a few coaches along the way as I prepared for my first bodybuilding competition, which was in 2009. And so all throughout this journey, I began shifting from basically not necessarily having an interest in health and fitness to becoming almost obsessive with health and fitness, getting to a point where I had followed some of the misinformation or misapplied the good information that I mentioned, all the way to the point where I was about 130 pounds going into my freshman year of college, arguably underweight, super lean, and got to a point where I started to realize that I was not necessarily using nutrition to the advantage for my internal health. Couple that with a pretty severe concussion or traumatic brain injury, and it was a recipe for disaster for me when it came to endocrinology and my overall internal health and hormone function. So that's what got me into learning more about labs, how the body works, being able to help other people with less conventional cases and more complex issues. Because as a personal trainer at the time, I was seeing a lot of people who would come to me who didn't necessarily have the best sort of response to the conventional health and fitness approach, or they hadn't found the best thing in terms of individualizing nutrition or individualizing fitness for them. And I really started to develop an appreciation for how we can take some of the main concepts in health, fitness, and nutrition and apply it to an individual to get them the best results possible. And rather than trying to find, the perfect diet or the perfect meal plan or the perfect training program, it's really about adapting those programs to the individual and helping that individual improve and move towards their goals. So in college, wasn't necessarily something where fitness was a career for me. In fact, every time I went home over the holidays, it was usually a conversation about when are you going to get a real job, or can you find something that at least has health insurance or benefits. And so at that point, I'm cleaning treadmills for like $7.10 an hour, picking up some clients on the side, working as a fitness supervisor and personal trainer. Eventually get to a point where I am a coordinator of other personal trainers working at the university campus recreation facility where I went to school and getting my bachelor's of science there. Also side hustling, working at nutrition stores, blending people's protein shakes, making smoothies, learning all about supplements. And I'm pretty immersed in the industry at this point, but hadn't really found a way to make it a sustainable career. So I went to graduate school, was still working while I was going to graduate school, because again, you have all these voices sort of telling you like, coaching's not a real job. You're going to be a personal trainer for the rest of your life. Is that something that you think is actually sustainable, or you're going to do till you're 50 or 60 years old? Not really realizing the potential in the industry. And also social media at the same time is essentially skyrocketing in its prevalence in everyone's household, and people having smartphones and the ability to access all this information at basically a moment's notice. But I didn't really take advantage of that until very late in the game for me, probably closer to 2017, 2018, 2019, started making videos, eventually had a podcast in 2019. But in that time period between 2014 and 2018, I'm pretty much training from more of a grassroots perspective, building a local business, relying on referrals, having to figure out how to do things in the gym, in the trenches. And that was pretty much a theme for me from like 2007 till 2017. It wasn't until I started sharing some of these client cases and sharing some of the knowledge I had developed from my own personal health and fitness journey, sharing some of the knowledge that I had developed from my own personal health and fitness journey and helping other people, that I was able to leverage that for content, for social media, or recording a video like I am for you guys today. So I was fairly insulated. In fact, I had a pretty bad taste in my mouth when it came to social media for a combination of reasons, and didn't realize that really the power that it had in terms of magnifying your voice and your message. And that's where podcasts always resonated with me, because you could share information. I found they were educational, they're valuable. There's not necessarily as much clickbait when it comes to podcasts. And during this time period, I'm sort of growing this business alongside as we see this trajectory of technology and social media. So I'm still working in fitness, personal training, nutrition coaching. I even did corporate wellness for a period of time, giving talks both locally and even as my reputation grew as a coach and health professional, was able to do a keynote for LinkedIn in New York City about sleep and stress management, worked with other prevalent companies like Red Hat, which has been acquired by IBM, and even larger universities like NC State in terms of their MBA program and things like that. So this is something where I'm exploring a lot of different avenues in health and fitness, trying to figure out how to make it work for me. And even at one point had abandoned this career in 2014 to get a quote unquote real job, only to realize that commuting 45 minutes both ways and sitting and staring at a computer or spreadsheet isn't a way that you really want to spend your life. At least not for me. Wasn't cut out for the cubicle life. So that really enforced my desire to figure out a way to do this and spend time in my journey to basically figure out the best way to go about this whole coaching thing, and really realize the power of social media, online business, online coaching, really in that time period from 2016, 2017 through 2019. And that all started to compound for me with the creation of the Sam Miller Science podcast in 2019. So at that point, then began sharing episodes each and every week around nutrition, metabolism, my experience as a health professional, even having coaches who were on my coaching roster from a nutrition training and fitness perspective, and just really being consistent with that content over a period of time. Around the same time is when I committed to posting daily on Instagram, grew my following pretty significantly during that time period, and even shared a pretty infamous, ironically, the tweet was about Doritos during COVID, and shared why I thought that some of the comorbidities and obesity-related statistics were so important during what was deemed a global pandemic. So I started to really appreciate how sharing that content at scale and then being able to share my information with other coaches and health professionals was so powerful in terms of being able to help others and really along the way figuring things out for myself. So that kind of brings me to where I am today, sharing the story and being able to create content, whether it's for YouTube, podcast, Instagram, or any other platform that's to come in the future. And it really still comes back to a lot of the same things. This is an industry that's filled with a lot of misinformation. Some of the good information that's out there, and even the good people sharing that information, will sometimes misapply that information for the individual. There's a lot of people who are confused in the health and fitness industry. There's a lot of people who have been taken advantage of by different coaches or supplement companies, different programs or products that aren't always in their best interest, because there's obviously billions of dollars tied up in this health and wellness industry. And as much as there are some really good people doing some really great things, there's also a large subset of companies that basically use people's insecurities and desire to improve their health and fitness as a way to make money and to grow without really providing any sort of tangible impact. So we're still fighting that, and I think there's still a need for a mix of information that comes from an evidence base of things that have been tested in human trials, but also understanding what happens in the trenches of coaching and what it's like to actually work with a human and have them carry over some of these programs, principles, or protocols into their daily life and be able to use it tangibly and have it be passed on to their family members or community, and not just live and die in an app or document that's on their computer. So a lot of what I'm doing today is now taking my experience over the last 15 plus years and my personal health journey to figure things out after a concussion and getting blood testing done when kids were probably, I was getting labs as frequently as a lot of my friends were probably going to college parties, and using that to be able to help other people really have more power when it comes to their own health. And if there's someone who's aspiring to be a health and fitness professional, learning how developing your skill set, building that toolbox, and becoming an expert can really provide a level of security, freedom, and stability for someone who wants to have a successful career in health and fitness, even if you have friends or family members who doubt the ability for that to actually be something meaningful for you in your life. So I'm looking forward to sharing more with you on this channel and on all my platforms. I hope you enjoyed learning more about this story. If you have any questions, let me know. Make sure you're subscribed and like this video so you can see more like this.